Now on RT1, the inspirational story of maintaining marriage, family and spirits against all odds on Would You Believe.
I cursed and damned my accident, and I kept asking myself why did it happen. I wanted some explanation, and I mean, overnight I had gone from a physically fit man in his prime to somebody like who couldn't move one finger.
When John had his accident, we were just married 12 years, and it's nearly 30 years since his accident. And John often says if he got life, if he's in Portlaoise, that he'd be out now if he got 30 years.
This is not a pleasant story, Mick. This is a nightmare story. The town that climbs the mountain and looks upon the sea, in sleeping time or waking, 'tis there I long to be, to walk again those kindly streets, the place I grew a man, with the boys aboard the shroud, who hunted for the ram.
John and Margaret Curran are an extraordinary couple. Together, against the odds, they have reared a family, kept their marriage intact, and are always an inspiration to anyone who meets them. They say it helps when you live where they do, on a small farm that sweeps down into Ballinskelligs Bay in County Kerry. It's their heaven on earth.
For the boys aboard the shroud, who hunted for the run.
How are you? How are you doing? Nice to see you. How are you doing?
That was 2 years, wasn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
There's no road works or anything on that road now.
You could do it, but Joe laughs at me sometimes when I say 2.5 hours to Skibbereen.
Daddy is a complete 3-4 quadriplegic. That means he's paralysed basically from his chest down, from his neck down, paralysed basically in your 4 limbs. Daddy would be complete. Complete injury means that your spinal cord is completely severed and there's no nerves or anything gets through. It's like the flex of a kettle. If you cut it with a knife, you can't boil it up. The electricity won't go through. If it's only nicked a little bit, it'll still boil. You can still boil the kettle. And that's basically how it is in kind of simple terms.
You did different things.
Oh yeah, play football together. I played, once when I was home from Rome, I played with Drummond. I remember Brendan and Bobby there, out in Sneem. We were heading to Drummond.
I suppose they're both strong characters and strong people, and I know in the early days people would have said to Mom, why don't you just walk away, why don't you just go? And Mom, I can remember Mom saying to somebody, well, how can I go? I've 4 small children and I've John, I can't just go out the door. It's not that easy. They've always been very close and very strong together. And I suppose Dad's extended family, his brothers, sisters, they'd all be very close. All of the Currans are really, really close to each other. They're very united and always have been.
I'm 67.
But where do you come in the family?
I come in second. Paddy was the first. Paddy, myself, John and Jim, the four boys.
There's a photograph of 3 years of altar boys together.
Oh yeah, he's there.
That's the 3 of you.
Us,
Yeah. I'm the third oldest in a family of 10. And the 10 of us were all in the old house together. And Pat, the oldest of the family, he went to England in about 1959. And I went in 60. I was just 19. I worked with my uncles and doing it in the building. And, we'd all muck in together. I was fit and strong, and I didn't worry about it.
I went to England in 1963, and my father lived in England. My mother had died. I just felt I had no home really in Ireland anymore. So I decided, my father was in Gloucester, so I thought, well, why not go to Gloucester? So I did, and that's where I met John then.
I was coming home from football training one evening, myself and a great friend of mine, and we met Margaret on the way, and we both, fancied her. So, being two decent Irishmen, we decided that, like who would walk her to the far end of the town. So there was only one thing to do, toss a coin. And we tossed the coin and I lost the toss. But luck was on my side because she didn't particularly like the other character. So we started going out in about 1963.
He was always great fun. We used to have great old fun, you know, full of devilment. Yeah, loved dancing.
And what is it about her you liked?
Oh, she had lovely personality, good pair of legs, and lovely smile. Well, without boasting, I think we were fairly good on the dance floor together. And we got married here in my native place in August of '66. All my family were here, and it was far easier for us to come home than to go to Gloucester. So home we came, and we got married above here in '66. Michael, my brother, married us. He was ordained in March of '66, which is a big year in the Curran family. We had 3 weddings and an ordination in 1 year. And we were the first couple that he had married. And I'll always maintain that as he was only an apprentice, he didn't do the job properly.
Why?
You know, this is me messing again.
There's
you
a
know.
get-out clause, you see. If anything happened, we can always say he didn't do it properly.
He tied the knot good and tight.
It's a lovely church, and it's only just up the fields from us. We can see it from our house.
And to the front they can see the old family homestead, a reminder of times gone by and the people that inhabited them.
Well, the land is a strip of land from the mountains down to the sea all the way, and it's 2 fields wide, and the fields will be about 50 yards across each of them. So that's the size of it all the way. It's about 20 acres. And that field there was where we played football. We were all out there, football and hurling. We played it hurling in Kerry, you know, with
You
sticks.
did not?
We did. Sticks with a turn at the end of it. Yeah.
That's a mortar.
It is. That's where we... And we used to play football down
Do you
there.
remember play football
on the
now with
strand
John
of it.
here?
We did, of course, yeah.
I'm the 7th generation of my family here. My father went to England in 1935, and he met my mother. She was Brennan from near Sneem. I suppose we had heaven on earth. We never knew anything about a sadness or anything at all like that. I mean, my mother died in 1974, and I was 33 years of age. And that was my first real experience of sadness and loneliness.
They were 8 years married when John's mother died. Living in Gloucester with 2 small children, it wasn't easy being away from home. John's father found it difficult to cope on his own and asked them to come home to take over the farm.
It was much better for me than it was for Margaret, because I was coming home to my own home, whereas Margaret was going to another man's house. You know what I mean?
How did you feel about that, Margaret?
It was tough, to be honest. It was tough in the beginning. You know, and I missed England. I really did. I had never lived in the countryside before, because I always lived in a village. I lived in a village up at home in Cappamore, and I just missed the shops, and you know, you had to travel quite a distance to get anything then. At least now, there's better over the years, and. I miss my friends, of course. We didn't have a telephone then. There was no telephones around here. You had to go to Waterville to make a call.
Despite the contrast from Gloucester, Margaret settled into a rural lifestyle just 3 miles outside Waterville. And within 4 years, herself and John had 2 more children.
Catherine was born the 1st of March, 1978. And the day after the christening, a neighbour, he was putting on an extension onto his house. And it was beautiful weather, and he'd come up to John. He'd asked John, I suppose 3 or 4 weeks before that, would he do a bit of block laying for him.
Myself and the man that was with me, the materials, he carried them up in a ramp, and we would carry up a big windowsill, and I was in front and he was coming along behind me, and the ramp was going onto the first floor, and as I went to step onto the floor, I missed my step, and I left the sill after me above, and I went down, and I crashed onto the ground in my head, and I was knocked unconscious.
The next thing, John's brother-in-law, Brendan, came along in a truck, and the lady of the house where John had the accident was in the front of the truck, and I thought, that's very strange, why is she there, you know? So anyway, they stopped and they said John was after falling, he had an accident.
The lads that were there, fortunately, one of them, he had, first aid, he gave me first aid, and he gave me the kiss of life. And only for him, I probably would have died there.
I got into Cork early in the morning and went down to St. Finbarr's Hospital. And John was there, and he was really struggling already for breathing even, but he was able to say, I broke my neck, but I'll be all right.
Later on that night then, I got to see a doctor there, and he spoke. I went into the office to him, and he said, yeah, John has broken his neck. And I said, yeah, how long is he going to be in hospital? 2 or 3 days, And he said, no, John was going to Dublin. He'll have to go to Dublin. And I said, why? Oh, he said, breaking your neck isn't like breaking your leg. He said, John is going to be paralysed. And I said, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, he said, he's broken his neck, he's going to be paralysed.
I cursed and damned, my accident. And I kept asking myself, why did it happen? Or, I wanted some explanation, and overnight I had gone from a physically fit man in his prime to somebody like who couldn't move one finger.
I remember Sister Mary saying to me after a few days, St. John, he said, you're hoping that he might recover. She said, he'll get nothing back. She said, he'd be better off dead, she said. Oh, that was a shame to me now. She said that to me. She wouldn't have said it to you. But that was being realistic. Like, Mary was a wonderful person. Mary was really super.
And who was Mary?
Mary is the nun in charge of the rehabilitation.
Said he'd be better off dead.
Yeah.
His heart stopped several times and he had to be resuscitated, and I was there a few times, and that is the pits when that happens, It's really frightening.
And I know this sounds harsh, but when you look at him and you say that at that stage, I know he's your husband and you love him to bits, but would you not be saying, God, please God, take him, he'd be better off?
No.
No?
No. Never. No, I spent a lot of my time in the sort of little chapel in Dunleary, and I spent every day in there praying.
What were we praying for?
Just to get him well enough to come home and we look after him at home.
And Margaret's prayers were answered, but getting John home was only the beginning of a very difficult journey for both of them. John wrote a book about the experience, a major achievement given he had only his chin to write with. Here he recalls one of the most important moments in his life, waking up the morning after he was taken off the respirator.
I lay there, not fully realising that I was breathing under my own steam. The nurse came to me and I asked her what time it was. She told me that it was 5:30. I could not believe that I had survived the night, and I wanted to shout and jump for joy. I experienced a great surge of excitement because I knew that I turned the corner and hoped that perhaps the worst was behind me.
While breathing on his own marked a significant milestone for John, Margaret had lost a major breadwinner at home. She had 4 children under 10 and a husband who was totally dependent on her for everything.
Were you going into overdrive?
Yeah. I did. I tried to bury my emotions, I suppose, really. I tried to be strong for the children and strong for John, and I had to keep going and, work hard during the week, really, to get things sorted for the weekend, going to Dublin every weekend. And money was very tight, and had to go and pick up money from social welfare. I used to have to kind of queue up for it and get it once a week. And then I used to do a bit of baking at home and give it to different places to sell stuff, like just to make a few extra pound for travelling.
I suppose we were just glad that he was alive, and when you're 10 you don't really understand what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Dad would have been the bread earner. He was the bread earner. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. She suddenly had money coming in every week to having no money coming in.
I was kind of afraid to cry, really, in case if I got to a certain stage that maybe I wouldn't be able to turn around again, that I would go very low. And I had to keep up for the children, really. I couldn't just let them down,
In times gone past, like physically, Mom would have to put Dad into the car with a hoist. That was difficult.
After going to the pulling, the dragging train to get me into the car, I didn't go too far, stayed here. And, of course, there was so much hardship when Margaret involved. So I realised then that I would have to bring this obstacle with me all the days of my life.
I was 5 weeks old when he had his accident, so I have no recollection of him prior to his accident. Nothing in my childhood has been a loss because my dad's in a wheelchair. As children, we never looked or wanted for anything. I mean, we were loved, we were kept. We came home from school every evening and there was dinner on the table and they would sit around the table doing homework with us, sing songs, read books. What childhood wouldn't want that?
His role didn't change after the accident. He was still their dad and very important in their life. And they saw a lot more of him, I suppose, than other dads because he was here all the time.
I'm going to take that for my one there.
Queen out one night.
On the black?
Oh, on the white.
There. Check it out. The time of his accident, it robbed me of kind of that father-son relationship from kind of a physical contact and so on. I was only 9 at the time, so it's quite a long time ago now, almost 30 years ago. But I do remember him. We played football out in the front field, and like any father and son, we had a lot of fun together at the time. Being the only son with 3 sisters, there was a lot of things that I was doing around the farm and so on. We had a small bit of a farm at the time, and it would have been great to have your father there to help with the milking or bring in the turf or feeding the cattle and things like that, which we did in the morning. But that was something you just got used to as we were growing up. But then there has been very happy times. Seeing my nephew and Dad's grandson Jack here in September brought a lot of smiles and happiness to the whole house.
What do you miss most about this whole thing from your dad?
I don't miss anything. I don't miss anything. I suppose I wouldn't change anything about Daddy. I suppose if I could have one wish for Dad, is that he would have made my wedding and my sister's wedding. That'd be all, really. I mean, it's kind of ironic, like a lot of my cousins have got married in the last year or two, and he was at all their weddings, and yet like he couldn't make it to ours, but I would never hold that against him. It's not the end of the world. I mean, he's alive and he's with us, and that's the most important thing. Yeah, I'm going to go tomorrow, Dad. I'd say I'd probably go about 2 o'clock or so.
Oh, well, you're not really out in the morning.
No, God, no. It was enough to come down early this morning, you know.
Carmel, the eldest, lives in Dublin, but comes home as often as possible. She works with people with spinal injuries.
We visit people that are at home with spinal injuries, and just to make sure everything is going okay, because sometimes people think that they're the only ones in the whole world that this affects. And I would often say, well, look, my father's actually in a wheelchair and he's, you know, a high quad, he's a complete 3-4 quadriplegic, and that would often take people kind of aback that they're not alone, that there is other people out there.
The Curran children have all flown the nest now, and Margaret and John are on their own again.
John, I have somebody here. See you again.
How are you?
For many couples, this could be a time to travel the world and renew their friendship.
How's things?
Not bad, not bad. How have you been?
Fine.
John and Margaret are simply happy to have each other. John content to spend time in their bedroom looking out at the world.
If I could pick a place to live as a disabled person, this is for me. It's, like I said, it's peaceful, quiet.
It's a little piece of heaven.
It is, yeah, and it's tranquil, and there's stacks of birds out there, and you know, we'd have rabbits walking around the lawn and hares and that kind of thing, so it's lovely.
And when you're lying here now from 8:30 till around midday, what do you do?
I'd listen to the radio, and I'd daydream a lot, and I would, yeah, and I'd you know, maybe say my rosary every morning, and that could take 2 hours, and I would be...
2 hours to pray the rosary?
Yeah.
What are you doing, saying it 20 times?
No. See, what happens, Mick, I daydream, and I could wander off, and then I would have to come back, and I would say, was I in the 2nd or the 4th decade, and this kind of thing. I wouldn't be lying here bored. I would keep my mind amused with our daughter Catherine. She was out in Australia there, probably 3 years ago now, and she told us about the Harbour Bridge and the famous Opera House, and we'd seen it, of course, often enough on television. But I would let myself wander off there.
Up over the clouds
to where the sky was blue. I could see all around me.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, how are things?
Oh, I'm doing very well, Margaret. How are things?
Oh, it's fine, grand. But it's a lovely morning, isn't it?
Ain't it only mighty?
I'm heading to the post office and I won't be too long.
Take it steady. Steady she goes.
Take care.
Bye-bye, Margaret. God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye. My mother, she would believe that it didn't matter how bad things were. And, you know, you would hear her saying, like, oh, God is good. She believed that the sun would shine again tomorrow. And I would have that simple, basic belief.
You think God is good?
I do, yeah. I do, yeah, because in a way, like, he's been very good to me. He's, yeah, I know he gave me this load to carry, but he's also brought a lot of love into my life.
John goes to Mass in the summertime, but once the weather gets cold, he doesn't go to Mass. But I do bring him Holy Communion every time I go to Mass. And that's important for John. I think it's nice. We went to Lourdes 1979, and we prayed, of course. We prayed an awful lot that there would be a miracle, even though I knew in my heart there wouldn't be a miracle. I'm a kind of a realist. I just knew. But I prayed that we would cope. That was the big thing, really, that we would be able to cope with our life, really, because it was a difficult life. And to give us the strength to continue as we were.
When we were there for the first time, I saw a lot of people that were an awful lot worse than me. And with terrible disabilities, and I didn't expect to be cured. At the same time, I knew that after being there, that my life after that would be easier. It gave me, I suppose, a greater, I would call it probably a gift of acceptance.
Hey, John, I'm back.
How are we doing?
No bells or calls.
No calls, no bells.
Body of Christ.
Being bitter wouldn't make me better. And that would only build a wall between Mark and myself and the children, so I'd try and be as positive as I could.
Light, light, turn a turn, dream a dream.
She's everything that I would like in a person. She knows me better than anyone. You're right, she's magic, really. She lights my light.
Say the same.
How would you describe him?
Be gentle, I bruise easily.
Cheeky. He's kind and always good fun and mostly in good form all the time. And a good dad. And a good friend. He's my best friend. That's the most important thing, I think, in a marriage.
What do you miss most?
I suppose John put his arm around me.
Catch a star and hold me tonight.
Last year, Margaret's 30 years of hard work, self-sacrifice and caring were publicly acknowledged and awarded.
When Margaret got Carer of the Year, well, it was unbelievable because I could talk until Kingdom Come, and I suppose I still wouldn't do her justice. She is giving probably everything for me.
Catch a star and hold me.
Your understanding of life, and purpose and meaning of life, how was that affected by John's accident?
I don't know, I suppose when you're 36 and trying to bring up 4 children, you don't even think of that really. I mean, that's all hideous stuff really. I never sort of dwelt on anything like that, you know. Well, I just didn't have time to think really, you know. Thinking about life, I mean, that's for dreamers, isn't it?
You are the promised land tonight.
If you have been affected by any of the issues raised in this programme, please see RTE Airtel page 708.